Hey everybody, so you're looking at the Razer Phone 2. So Razer, for those who may not know, it's an American slash Singaporean company that specializes in making gaming hardware. So they make laptops, gaming mouse, gaming keyboards, all that. And last year they introduced the first phone. This is the second phone. So looking from the front, both the Razer Phone 2 and the original look almost exactly the same. They have the same 5.7-inch display, the same front-firing speaker grills, and even all the buttons and fingerprint sensors on the sides are exactly the same. Only when you flip over to the back do you see the difference. The Razer Phone 2 has a glass back, which now supports wireless charging, and its logo lights up in different lighting. It looks really cool, but still a little bit gimmicky. I don't know why gaming phones all feel like they need to have a lighted RGB logo. So inside the phone, there's a little bit of upgrade. The processor has been upgraded to Snapdragon 845, but everything else remains mostly the same. There's still 8 gigs of RAM, and the battery is still 4000 mAh battery. Now 4000 mAh battery is usually a lot for most phones, but for the Razer phone it's actually not that much. That's because the Razer phone's display has a refresh rate of 120 Hz. So for those who may not know, refresh rate, it's basically how often a screen refreshes itself per second. So the Razer Phone 2, just like the original, can refresh up to 120 Hz. So that means you just get more animation per second. So that means the phone's display is super smooth. Now this is useful for gaming. Games that support 120 Hz will look really smooth and fluid, better than on most other phones. But I also really like just moving around the phone, like even scrolling on Instagram or scrolling up and down a web page. Just the fluidity of the animation just looks stunning. It's one of those things that I can't really describe, and you can't really see in this video because this video is recorded at 60 frames per second, while the Razer Phone 2, it's moving at 120 frames per second. So it has to be something that you have to see in person. And once you see it, you kind of can't unsee it. After you use the Razer Phone 2 for a little bit, you go back to another phone, you notice that just the animation is not as fluid. So now also like last year, the Razer Phone 2 has front-firing speakers that pump out really loud, really full sound. This is the first phone to support Dolby Atmos 5.1 and Netflix HDR, so when you're watching Netflix shows, you're getting the best possible image and audio. Now the front-firing speakers do make for a bigger forehead and chin bezel, so that explains why the Razer Phone 2 has almost the same footprint as the iPhone XS Max, even though it has a much smaller screen at only 5.7 inches. So otherwise, most of the phone is very similar to last year's phone actually. There's a new vapor chamber cooling system that apparently when you play the game for a long time, it keeps the phone cool. I did not get to test the phone long enough to really see the difference yet. There are a little bit of software tweaks, such as the ability to change theme. Now these themes are sorted by games, so you have like Tekken, you have like Arena of Valor, and once you pick the theme, it will change not just the wallpaper, but some of the app icons and even your notification sound. Fight! There's also a new dedicated game boost mode which allows you to set individual settings for each game, meaning how like what's the max frame rate you are running on, how do you want to clock the CPU, you know, what screen resolution you want to use. So you can change it for each phone, so that means every time you play, if you know you're playing a graphically intensive game, you want to use max power. If you're playing something like less graphically intensive, less demanding, then you can lower the phone's power. Anyway, you know what we gotta do? We gotta do a sound check now, so check out the audio quality, it's amazing.
Are you ready? You ain't ready. Touch me over here, touch me
So now Razer says it's also improved the camera for the second phone over the original. The hardware is mostly the same, there's still both dual 12 megapixel sensors, but the main lens has an f1.7 aperture now, so for better low light performance. And the camera app has also been improved with more modes, so now there's like slow motion video, beauty modes, panorama. These are all things that were not available in the original phone. Now I didn't really get to test the camera because Razer only gave me about 30 minutes to play with the phone, and I had to be inside the room. I couldn't leave the room, so really no place for me to test the camera. But the camera app right now is a little bit buggy, it's a little bit slow, so I'm hoping they fix that because the camera last year was a weakness. So now Razer people will not tell me the official pricing yet because I got to test this phone before the announcement, but I do know that it's going to be quite a bit cheaper than what Samsung or Apple or LG is asking of their phone. So I'm guessing it'll be in the $750 range. That's a pretty good price considering the display on this phone is just stunning. This is the best phone for media consumption. Now we'll see whether the camera holds up. I'm gonna get a review unit in maybe a couple of weeks, but first I gotta go to London to test Huawei stuff, so I might not be able to get back to this phone until the end of the month. But stay tuned for more coverage of the Razer Phone 2. Thanks for watching.